Hi there, welcome back to my channel, My Lucky to Stitches. This video is all about tent stitch, T-E-N-T, like a tent when you go camping. So, what is tent stitch? It's basically just a half cross, one leg of the stitch, like you can see here. I'll just do a quick demonstration. So I've got my needle here, and all I'm doing is one leg of the stitch. Whether you're doing all your stitches together, like this, or whether you are moving about and doing them anywhere at all, you basically need to keep them all in the same direction. So keep all the legs going in the same direction, don't do any the other way. And what you're doing is, instead of using the recommended number of strands of thread, for example, this is an 11 count piece of aida here for this demonstration, you would normally use 3 strands of thread. You just double the number of strands of thread. So for this here, these are 6 strands of thread. And the idea is that that will fill in the box in the exact same way as you would fill in your little square, your little box when you're doing your 2 strands. If you double the number of strands, but just do half of the stitch instead, the idea is that it should technically fill in the same amount of space. And why would you want to do that as opposed to full cross? It can really save you a lot of time on your project. As we all know, all of us cross stitchers, these projects take a long time to do. They can take up to years, depending on how much time you have to spend on them. So anything that will save you time is thumbs up from me and thumbs up from everyone else. It's a bonus. So I did this for a demonstration purpose, just to show you what it looks like. What I'm going to do is go through some different examples just to give you an idea of what it looks like, and you can decide if it's something that you want to do for yourself. So this is 11 count. I wouldn't recommend using it for 11 counts. These are 6 full strands. You can see that there's lots of gaps here, but it's up to you. You can maybe decide to try it with 7 strands and see if that fills up each of the squares a bit more and gives you less gaps. For me, I wouldn't do that because I only ever do 11 count cross stitch kits when it's a stamped kit, and they already come. So any kind of a kit will come with the recommended amount of thread, and if you use more than what's recommended, you'll run out faster. You might, well, to be fair, they do come with a bit of extra, so you might not, but you might. So I would be really wary of that. If you're doing one of these big stamped kits, don't go above the recommended number of threads, which is 3 strands for a full cross. So I wouldn't go above 6 strands in case I ran out. And obviously you can go away and get your own, because you're usually given the DMC numbers with these big stamped kits. This is the back of one of the stamped kits I'm using here just for demonstration purposes to show the blank canvas. But yeah, me personally, I wouldn't recommend it, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. It'll save you trying it yourself, and you can decide if you want to do that or not. I've deliberately chosen a really dark colour of thread, this dark blue, to show up any gaps in colour more easily. If it was a lighter colour, the gaps wouldn't show up as clearly, so I've deliberately chosen one of the darkest colours just to make that more obvious. So that's all it is, just your half leg using twice the number of threads, and you can do it either all over the place or like this. So that was your 11 count. I'm now going to show you some different examples. Excuse me, this is the back of one of the projects I've been doing. You can see that there. So here is a 14 count, and on here, now on a 14 count project, you're recommended to use 2 strands of thread and do your full cross. So I basically did 4 strands, just doubled them up for this top one. And what you can see there is, it is actually okay. It's not as gappy as the 11 count one. It is okay, bearing in mind that this is a dark colour of thread I've chosen, and this is bright yellow, a really contrasting colour shown behind it. It is actually okay. I did try just underneath it using 5 strands of thread to see the effect. Now, what unfortunately happened was I pulled through a bit of that lighter colour there, so it doesn't really give a proper true effect. So look at the bottom part of it instead. You can see that it is slightly better coverage, as it would be because it's an extra strand of thread, but to me there's not a lot of a difference. And remember, if you were to decide to take your stamped kit, which comes with the already what should be the correct amount of thread. If you're using an extra strand across the whole project, you might run out of thread. So I would stick to 4 strands. I'm seriously considering this. On a counted kit, you wouldn't save half of the time, you would save a good bit of time just doing your half stitches. But on a counted kit, you're spending a lot of time counting, making sure you're putting your stitches in the correct place. So definitely, it would cut it down to 2/3 of the time, definitely. On a stamped kit, however, when you're not doing any counting, like something like this, you could, well, half the amount of time that you're spending on a project, get it done twice as quick. So have a look at that and see what you think. And I will go away and consider that, because it's the first time I've tried that. And I will seriously think about whether or not I want to change from these full crosses that I've been doing. It doesn't give a true picture because this is a light colour and this is a dark colour. If I want to change from doing that to doing half stitches. So that's 14 count. That will give you an idea. So I've got some other samples. I don't have any 16 count, but I do have 18 count, 20 count, I have some 32 count, and I've got some projects, some of my completed projects on 25 count and 28 count, which I will show you, and that will give you a really good idea of if you're going to like this or not. So the 18 count, I've written the number of strands of thread that I used. So 3 strands on the left and 4 strands on the right. With 18 count, now this is a bit of a funny one. Usually I would use 2 strands. I've never really done a project in 18 count, I have to say that. But it would usually be either 2 strands for a full cross. That's what you'd be most likely to use. Some people might use, I was going to say 1 strand, but I don't think so. You would most likely use 2 strands. So if you double it over, you would get 4 strands, and that's what the recommended thing, would be 4 strands, and you do get a really nice coverage, I think. And if you hold it out at arm's length, about the distance of reading a book, I think that's perfect. So if I was doing 18 count and above, I would definitely be doing 10th stitch. That's it with 3 strands. You can see I've got 3 strands here. Whoops. Just to give an idea, with the 4 strands I was able to do the full loop start, so that's why I don't have anything on the back here, anything showing through here. 4 strands I would recommend. That I would use this as an example also of the way the colour comes through. If you did use less strands, the colour looks a bit more faded than if you're using more strands. Where your thread is more intensely crowded on the fabric, the colour is always more intense. So bear that in mind, and that's a bit of an illustration. You can kind of see that looks a bit darker than that, even though these are both the exact same colour of thread. So 4 strands for 18 count, that gets the thumbs up from me. 20 count, I didn't even bother trying with any number of strands other than 3. So 3 strands of tent, again, this for me is brilliant. I would recommend that if you were doing a project in 20 count, what's the point in doing full crosses when you can make things a lot quicker and do them with 3 strands of tent? I don't think you can't notice any gaps in that whatsoever, I don't think. And it's, look at that, up really close. I think there's nothing wrong with that. So 20 count. I'll show you the 32 count. Now, this is a difficult one. This is 1 strand of thread. To me, that is not very sparse, but it's quite sparse. I have tried with 2 strands in the past, but the holes are so tiny on this fabric, this 32 count, that it really is too dense. It's very dense. And another thing to take into consideration when you're doing these as well is, especially when you get to the really high counts and the smaller squares, how easy is it going to be? It's fine doing a little 5x5 square, but how easy is it going to be to get your needle, to push your needle through? And that really does become a factor, because I've done this in practice. I started off doing a project on 32 count because I wanted the overall size of the project to be smaller. I tried with one strand on my actual project and it was a bit too thin for me. I'll hold this up a bit closer. It was a bit too thin. It's okay, but it's a bit too thin. I tried with 2 strands and it was just too difficult to get the needle through and push it through from the back. So I would not be doing 2 strands on 32 count with tent stitch. It's up to you. You can try it if you want. And obviously you have to try things for yourself to know what you think. Right, let's get on to the real business here. The very first project that I did with tent stitch is this one here. This is a completed one. And it's good that this is in dark colours, because dark colours will show any show through, any gaps much more easily than light colours. This is 25 count. It is this easy count, however it's been washed in the washing machine and we've got all the grids out. And this is actually what it looks like when you have washed out all your grid lines. It's the exact same as these, but just the grid lines have been washed out. I actually put this through the washing machine twice. So just think about that. It's been put through the washing machine twice and look how fine it still is. So this one was Hayed by Lisa Parker. She was the designer. Mini Quiet Reflections. Now, 25 count. You can see, it looks like, bearing in mind I have a light shining above this, it looks like there's a bit of show through. And I'll be honest, there is a little bit of show through. A little bit. But not too much. It's actually fine, isn't it? And when you've got your project stretched out on a frame, remember that when you take it off the frame, it's not stretched out anymore. And then if you're going to wash it to get grid lines out especially, or just because it might be a bit grubby, the thread plumps up. And this thread definitely plumps up. I'll show you a bit of the moon. These are all the lighter colours, and I'll show you on the actual wolf. I did find when I was doing the wolf, it got a bit difficult to push the needle through. There's high confetti on the wolf. For anyone who doesn't know what confetti means, it's where you've got lots and lots of different colours all together in a small space rather than big patches of one colour. So it did get quite difficult on this 25 count to push the needle through, but you would get that with any cross stitch project. So yeah, I'm not going to deny there is a little bit of show through on these very dark colours, which you absolutely do not notice on the lighter colours. So that is what it looks like in real life when it's been done. I think it's fine. And again, when you hold it out to arm's length, I'm not able to, I've zoomed the camera in quite closely deliberately, but if I was to zoom the camera out to normal, yeah, it's fine. So the next one I did on 25 count is this one, and again it's got a mixture of light and dark colours, so it's good to demonstrate what this tent stitch looks like. So this is one, the regular size, by Zindy Nielsen, I hate. So if you look now, what I would say about this is, have a look up here and see if you can notice any difference in the stitch use, because when I started off doing this project, I actually started off in this top left hand corner doing full cross. Now, can you see any difference in the stitches? Because this is another thing that comes up that people are always asking. Will it look, is there really a difference between how the stitches look if I do full cross or if I do tent stitch? Again, I've not washed out the grid lines on this one, which you can see. So that's the grid lines that are shown through on this light coloured section. Can you see where I've started and ended any tent stitches or full cross? Because I definitely can't. If you notice a bit of texturization, that's basically the different colours, slightly different colours, which might not show with the light I'm shining on this properly. But you've got to remember that to provide texture in these things, because this is all clouds up here, you can maybe see it a wee bit better when I hold it out. There are different colours of thread being used in here. So I can't remember where I stopped and started. So if you are wondering what the difference is, what it looks like in reality, I would say there's no difference whatsoever. And the question that always comes up as well, sorry, I've got a couple of cat hairs on here, I've got a hairy cat. If I started off doing full cross, can I change to tent stitch? And I would say yes, because I've done it on here and I cannot tell any difference whatsoever. I couldn't pick out where I've stopped or started tent or full cross. So anyway, that's the sky, that's the lighter colours, and then I'm going to show you down in some of the darker colours. Now, in hindsight, yeah, there is a small bit of show through. So this is 25 count with two strands of tent stitch. There is a bit of show through. So, but you know, when you hold it out, I don't know, I think it's fine. I actually think it's fine. I really do think it's fine. So the next one I want to show you is one on 28 count. So the first two were on 25 count. This is on 28 count, and this is what I would really recommend the most for your tent stitch. This is where it really comes into its own. This is two strands again, and this one is a Aida. It's Mini Oaken Mead by Jasmine Beckett Griffith. She was the designer. Look down here. Now there will be bits of fluff attached to them, but there's no show through. So this was all the really dark colours here. You can see a little bits of, I think you just can't avoid sometimes. That's not all show through. So this little bit here is a little bit of white fluff. Again, I've not washed out my grid lines here. I'm trying to show you up as closely as I can on lighter and darker colours. You do see a small bit of show through, but again, like, would you have that with full cross? I've never done a project with the full crosses, so I don't know, because to be honest, I would never get anything finished if I did it that way. And you have to ask yourself the question, this is the lighter colours here, would I rather do it in a more quick way and it still looks more or less just the same, or would I rather do the full crosses and never get anything done? So it's up to you what you think about these. Again, if I had zoomed the camera out, you would see the whole thing. I've got this zoomed in pretty close. Here's on the brighter colours. This is what it looks like. 28 count with two strands of tent stitch. So it's up to you. You decide what you think, but that's basically what it is. That's what tent stitch is, and I love it. I would never go back to doing full crosses. Now that I know about this, I just couldn't. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please let me know in the comments, and please like the video if you found it useful as well, and please subscribe to the channel if you're interested in all different things cross stitch related. Thank you for watching this video, and I do hope that you have found it useful, but I would recommend tent stitch. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you again soon. Bye.